Mark 1:12 gives us our first example of what's called an historic present. Kai euthus ta pneuma auton ekbale eistain eremon. And immediately, and we're going to come back and talk about that, the Spirit casts him, drives him into the desert. Now, let me say a couple of things here. First of all, euthus. It's often said that Mark presents Jesus as a man of action, and in chapter 1, he immediately does this and he immediately does that. Well, euthus does occur a lot in Mark chapter 1, and it can mean immediately, but it can also mean the next thing. In other words, there's no sense of immediacy, but okay, the next thing I'm going to tell you about what happened to Jesus was this. And you just have to look at the context and try to figure out what it is. So as soon as he was baptized, immediately he was cast into the desert, possibly. Or the next thing that happened after the baptism was that Jesus was driven into the desert. You decide. The other thing I wanted to point out was ekbale. Now, you notice that this is being told in the past tense. And so translations are all going to say, and immediately the Spirit drove him into the wilderness. Well, why is this present tense, right? Ekbalo. Well, it's called an historic present. And what happens, we do the same thing in English, but not nearly as much as they do it in Greek. They really like doing this in Greek a lot. Is that when you're describing a past event and you want to make it more vivid, you bring it into the present. But because Greek does it all the time and English does it rarely, most translations just keep this as a simple past. And immediately the Spirit drove him into the desert. I often tell the story of a skiing accident I had when I was younger. And as I'm telling you about skiing through the trees, which is kind of a stupid thing to do, I will switch into the present tense, and I'm coming down and I'm going between the trees and I hit a log I didn't see. See, I switch into the present tense to make it more vivid, to help you visualize my stupid skiing accident. But anyway, that's what's going on in Greek. But again, Greek does it a lot. English does it only some. And so most translations will take these historic presents and put them into the past. In terms of phrasing, it's very straightforward. You will take your connector and put it on its own line and indent it. And pretty much everything else just makes sense the way it is.